Saw 1, or just Saw as it was known then, is a movie from 2004 that blew my mind when I was younger. And when I saw it, blew my mind. It haunted me. It haunted my nightmares. And I really, I think, was changed by it. It made me a Saw fan. I saw the next few Saws. Saw. And they never really captured me in the same way as that first one did. So I decided to go back to Saw 1 and rewatch it and see, how does it hold up?
Hello, Adam. Dr. Gordon. I want to play a game.
So first of all, one of the things that I noticed was that the guy that plays Lawrence, Dr. Lawrence, I mean, he has a last name, right? Dr. Lawrence Gordon, aka Larry. He is played by Carrie Elwes, which I did not absorb at the time when I watched this movie.
Every babe that weeps at your approach, every woman who cries out, "Dear God, what is that thing?" will echo in your perfect ears.
The fact that that is Carrie Elwes makes the movie better for me. He's so good in this role. He does such a good job. And it's so weird to me because, okay, let's just talk about this. So looking at Saw X, or Saw 10, if you rather, this movie right now for Rotten Tomatoes is at 87%. 86% at the time of this recording from 85 reviews. 90% audience score. 90%. Audiences love this. The first Saw has 50% on Rotten Tomatoes and has an audience score of 84%. I know this movie has some corny bits. I'm not gonna deny that there isn't some cheese in the movie, but Saw has always had cheesy bits, including in Saw 10, and whatever cheesy bits there be in this. There's also a lot of really great acting happening and a lot of really cool moments and a lot of cool games that are built into this in terms of like the traps and the elements of them and just how it feels like a point and click adventure, which for me now, but also for me in 2004, I love point and click adventures. So to feel like I'm in a horror movie that's a point and click adventure is really exciting. I really love them. If you want to see me play point and click adventure games, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do something like that on my members only videos, which by the way, if you don't know, we do have memberships. You should go check it out. It's pretty cool. We do an exclusive members only video a week. And I'm also going to be trying to do some more polls for members only to help sort of pick what type of content we do on the channel and do more photos and status updates and stuff for you guys. So I highly recommend you check it out. Get on in there, folks. It's a good time. But Saw having that point and click adventure vibe, having this sense of you don't really know what's happening until it's happening. The fact that we're traveling with the actors and the fact that Saw is here, is a presence, but is not the main character. Jigsaw. Sorry, I called Jigsaw Saw for short. Uptown Duck was telling me no one does that. That's not a thing we do in this franchise, but it's a thing I do. It's quirky, it's unique to me. If you're one of those people, let me know, but apparently no one is those people. It's just me. The fact that Jigsaw is here, the presence is felt, but is not the main character of the franchise at this point, I think heightens it as well. It's about the people that are trying to survive, which makes us more invested in them, and we learn more about them. I'm still not sure what happened to Adam, though. I gotta say, at the end of this movie, the fact that Adam is still trapped here, and the fact that Adam's key to getting out was there at the beginning and went down the drain because Adam freaked out because he was underwater in a bathtub and like couldn't breathe and all that stuff, and that's how he lost the game, is like, but that's not fair, Jigsaw. That's not fair. I just feel so bad for Adam. I feel like Adam should have at least gotten an extra saw thrown his way at the end. Something. What did Adam do? He was pathetic. That's it. I guess he wasn't really doing anything with his life, but like, I don't know. He seemed to, I guess he was angry all the time, but he seemed to still be enjoying living life. So I don't really know why he's here. I just feel like he's like a triple times victim. Justice for Adam. Hashtag justice for Adam. I feel like Adam should have been let go. But the thing that I really like about this movie is it makes you sit on the edge of your seat. And as someone who hadn't seen it in years going back to it, there were obviously things that I remembered and things that I didn't remember. And even some of the stuff that I felt like I remembered and I knew where it was going, I was still scared at times. I was still like hoping that it went the way I remembered, like with Allison, who is Lawrence's wife, and their daughter. I was really hoping that Diana, that's their daughter's name, which I think is such a weird name for a daughter. I don't know why, but I was just like, she's like a little girl, but her name is Diana, which I think of being like such an adult name. She's a very grown-up name for being young. But that whole element of what happens with Allison and Diana and whether or not they're going to make it out, that to me was so exhilarating. And I felt I remembered that they did. I also thought that would be really weird because just based on the story that we now have for John that's established in the canon, I just don't think... I mean, I guess he would have probably let something terrible happen to them because who is that other guy? Pez or whatever his name is? He's got such a weird name. Zepp, that's his name. Oh, Pez would be Zepp backwards. So my brain inverted that for some reason. But Zepp, the fact that he was also part of the game, I guess that means that Diana and Allison were also kind of in danger. But I don't know. I just don't think John would have let anything happen to them. But at the same time, then that would mean that Zepp really has to go. And that was his plan the whole time. So I don't know. There's things that obviously just don't fit into the canon because the canon wasn't, the lore wasn't established yet. So there are things that happen there that I'm like, that doesn't really make sense, but I'm trying to explain it away because I do like the story of John Kramer ultimately as Jigsaw. I think he's got an interesting story and I want this movie to work because I like it so much. And then also I gotta say, Detective Tapp, love Detective Tapp. I also just found out that he is in Dead by Daylight. He's a character and apparently he's really good at listening. I just love Danny Glover as Tapp. I love his journey and sort of his personal vendetta against Jigsaw, even though he makes questionable choices. Like when he decides, when he finds Jigsaw's lair, that he's gonna let's just hide and like see what happens. Like, let's just see. I just want to see his face. I want to see what he'll do. You want to see what he'll do? You just found a man under a sheet who has like drills like pointed towards him. We know what's gonna happen. Why is that your instinct, Detective Tapp? But I do love Detective Tapp as a character, and I feel like I wish he had been more of a character throughout the franchise because I just feel like he's so fun, even though he's so ridiculous. I love it. Also, Danny Glover is really good. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's mainly what I wanted to say about this movie. To be fair, I don't have a ton to say about it. I just wanted to say that I feel like it does hold up. I feel like it's still really good, and the fact that this movie was made for 1.2 million. Yeah, obviously the sets look like sets. That motel room that Larry goes into to meet like the other woman that he's seeing, that motel room is a set. The neighbor's house or whoever's house they're in at the end, Allison and Diana, when they get to safety, that looks like a set that doesn't even belong in this movie. That looks like a set that they made in like 2 seconds, or that they wandered onto someone else's set and said, can we use this set? It doesn't look like it belongs in the movie. So the sets are not amazing. The fact that Larry and Allison's bedroom has like 2 French doors, that's clearly like what you would have in a dining room of a house. Clearly these are sets, or you know, they may have used a home but like they couldn't go upstairs because they didn't pay enough to get access to the upstairs, so they're like, we'll just put the bedroom in the living room or in the dining room or whatever. Yeah, there are elements of it that aren't amazing, but the premise of the story here is really good. The characters, I think, are compelling, and the fact that we get so much time to get to know them increases the stakes. This is a movie that I feel like it doesn't need to have a bunch of traps, and it still manages to fit a few in, but they work well with the story. They're not just there for the sake of being there. They're there as part of the development of the characters. I mean, let's talk about the traps in Saw 1. Okay, so we have the bathroom trap, right? So that trap obviously is beautiful, 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 because we give our victims so much time to play around in that trap. Also, what is this bathroom? It's so gross. It's so gross, and I love it. And it's lit. It's well lit. I find sometimes Saw can be a little too dark and a little too drab. Like, it's a lot of grays, and this is a lot of, you know, whitish blue. I mean, it's white, but because of the filter that they used in the movie. And I really like that aspect of it. Also, everyone when they freak out and the way it's like that time lapse, I just think that it's so aged now. It did not necessarily, you know, it's not something that we still use. But to see in Saw 10 them kind of pay homage a little bit to that style was really rewarding for me because I had just watched the first Saw and I was like, yes, I kind of love just how 2004 it feels, if that makes sense. It feels very 2004 I think in a good way, in a nostalgic way for sure. So we have the razor wire maze, which is, you know, it makes sense because we're explaining who Saw is and getting a bit of the story every time we get like a flashback. I like how the story is in the present moment. We're kind of in this one room, and then we also get some flashbacks, and then there's some other things happening on the peripherals. And how all of these traps, like the razor wire maze, is bringing in the detective to the story, Detective Tapp, and how he's involved. The flammable jelly is also adding to sort of who Saw is and how like wild these traps are, building up that character. The reverse bear trap introduces us to Amanda, who becomes a main character in the series, which is really awesome. The drill chair is relevant to Detective Tapp's story, losing his partner Singh, and how he, you know, Jigsaw is this killer that got away. Once again, we're adding to that story. The quadruple shots in the hallway with the cobweb, which I just think is so good, also is developing not only Singh's story, which ends, but also Detective Tapp's story, because that's his partner, and now he has a reason to really be, you know, focused on Jigsaw. Zepp's test is obviously, I think, doesn't make as much context in terms of the character that John is, that we know he is when we learn more about him later, but I think it's still a crazy test. It's nuts with he's poisoned and he's got to basically, you know, get the antidote dependent on Larry passing his test as to what he will have to do or not do. It's kind of also banking on the fact that Larry's going to basically fail. There are things in there that don't work as well. That's probably like the weakest one, I would say, but all of these are really, really strong otherwise, and they do advance the story. Even Zepp's test is basically related to Larry's story, so I really like that aspect of it. So these are all just traps that actually build the story, build the characters, and that's what makes them interesting to me. And I feel like a lot of other Saws just have traps for the sake of traps, as opposed to advancing the characters and the plot. Also, the twist at the end of this is definitely the best twist that we've had in Saw. The fact that Jigsaw was in the room with them the whole time and gets up at the end still gives me shivers to this day when I watch it. Still, I love that twist. I think it's so amazing. I remember the first time I watched that, I was so shocked. I was like in awe, like he was in the room with them the whole time, just listening to this all happen. And I think that's what I want, right? I want the idea that Jigsaw is here, but I don't want to feel the presence too much. And I think a lot of the other films in the franchise have that issue where it's just a little too much Jigsaw, whereas this one does a good job of giving us some of that and really Jigsaw being involved in the whole thing, but us not really knowing, especially because we don't know who Jigsaw is really till the end, which is really compelling. You obviously can't do that in every one, because once you've done that once, we know Jigsaw is this guy, but a girl can dream. That's all I have to say about Saw 1. Does it hold up? It most definitely holds up. Should you go back and watch it? You definitely should go back and watch it. Should you go back and watch it before you see Saw 10? Maybe. I would say you could. Hopefully you don't love it as much as I did, though, because it might detract from some of Saw 10. Also, if you didn't see, I do have a non-spoiler and a full spoiler review. I have my immediate reaction, which happened right after, so there's no spoilers in that one, and my review, which happened, well, just before I filmed this, so it has all my full thoughts on that. But definitely, I would say at least watch this after you see Saw 10. Maybe before, definitely after, definitely watch it again. It's a great spooky movie for the season. And that's about it. All right, stay nerdy.